Thank you, Chairman Tiberi, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here today. The tax reform debate is underway, and I'm happy that our committee is taking this opportunity to examine the nation's tax policy. I agree that our tax code needs to be simpler for families and for small businesses. Where we can promote policies that make sure that the tax code is working for working Americans, growing the economy, creating good-paying jobs, and supporting families and communities across the country, I will be among the first to support it. Unfortunately, the Republican starting point seems heavily focused on giving more tax giveaways to large multinational corporations and the wealthiest among us, rather than on small businesses, rural entrepreneurs, and those communities still struggling to recover following the recession. There's time to shift that focus, and hearings like this one can help. In New Mexico, small businesses make up more than 95% of all businesses and employ more than 55% of private sector workers. They are the heart and soul of our state's economy. They are companies like RiskSense in Albuquerque that help firms assess and manage their cybersecurity risk. Founded as a small business technology transfer from the New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology, the company now has 100 employees and earnings growing 50% annually. It's a great success story, and we certainly need more of them. At the national level, startup activity has picked up in the past 3 years, but the share of startups has declined by almost half since the 1970s. New firms are increasingly concentrated in a few big cities and states. One report found that just 20 counties were responsible for half of the net increase in new businesses from 2010 through 2014. And the share of startups created by veterans and in rural areas are both down in the past 2 decades. There are a number of actions that we should take to boost startup activity, few of which have anything to do with the tax code. It's vital that we strengthen the basic economic foundation, more jobs, higher wages, and improved access to education and healthcare. And we must lay the groundwork for startup activities in rural areas. That means increasing access to capital, speeding the deployment of broadband in rural communities, and taking other steps to ensure that rural and tribal areas are able to compete when it comes to startup activity. We also should be clear about what will not help small firms. Big tax cuts for large established companies do nothing for startups, which have little to no taxable income in those critical early years while working to get their businesses off the ground. And it does little for small businesses in need of capital to grow, capital that has been shrinking and drying up since the recession. As we've seen time and again, tax giveaways for large corporations and our highest earners do nothing to help small businesses, rural communities, and working people get ahead. And it leaves fewer and fewer dollars to invest in roads, in schools, in entrepreneurs and working families, compounding the challenges facing small cities and towns across our country. The primary goal of reform should be to use the levers we have to level the playing field. 1, because it's the right thing to do, and 2, because every American should have the opportunity to turn their dream into a reality. A zip code should not determine a child's success or her chances of starting a business. The entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well from Las Cruces, New Mexico to Boston, Massachusetts. It's our job to make sure we give every American the same chance to succeed, no matter their background. 2 things we could do right now to boost our economy and put more money into the pockets of working families are expanding the Earned Income Tax Credit and strengthening the child tax credit. Our focus needs to be on creating better opportunities for the folks on Main Street, not delivering more tax breaks for investment bankers on Wall Street. We have an opportunity this Congress to work together to craft a bipartisan tax reform package that promotes entrepreneurship, simplifies our tax code, and puts more money in the pockets of working people. If we do that, we will give Main Street the boost it desperately needs. I'm certainly ready to get to work, and I look forward very much to this panel's testimony.